or no? Okay, great. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the joint school committee city council meeting on November 27th. It is 6:04 p.m. Just a few announcements before we get started. On March 29, 2023, Governor Healy signed into law an act relative to extending certain state of emergency accommodations, which, amongst other things, extends the expiration of the provisions pertaining to the open meeting law to March 31st, 2025. Specifically, this extension allows public bodies to continue to hold meetings remotely without a quorum of the public body physically present at a meeting location and to provide adequate alternative access to remote meetings. This act does not make any new changes to the open meeting law other than extending the expiration date of the temporary revisions regarding remote meetings to March 31 to 2023 to March 31, 2025. Notice is hereby given in accordance with Chapter 28 of the Acts of 2009, Section 2017-20, Massachusetts General Law. The joint meeting of the school committee and city council is being held. We will go over roll call. We do have people on Zoom and in person, so all votes tonight will be roll call. So I myself, Aaron Brunel, is here. Juan Anderson Burgos. Counselor Jenny, can you voice?
Here.
Counselor Jenny Rivera.
Here.
John Willihan.
Here.
Yadielette Rivera Colon.
Here.
And who else? Tessa Murphy Romboletti. You said she's on, right? You promoted her?
She was on like a second ago.
All right. We'll acknowledge Counselor Murphy Romboletti when she signs back in. And if I'm not mistaken, I think I also see that Counselor Israel Rivera is with us this evening. Vice Chair Mildred Lefebvre is with us this evening, as well as school committee member Ronnie Collmore. So thank you and welcome, everyone. If we could rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. All right, moving right along to new business. Item number 1 on our agenda, we have an order filed by Counselor McGee that the Joint Committee of the School Committee and City Council invite the receiver to discuss and provide information on the financial literacy programs currently happening at both high school campuses. I will turn it over to you, Mr. Soto.
Okay, so yeah, this is the second time in 3 years where this request was made. I think the first time was under the premise that, like, hey, we should add a financial literacy program. So I provided a letter last year to the city council and to this body that explains that we do have a financial literacy program. It's been modified a little bit this year, primarily due to staffing issues. So we used to have it at the Dean campus, and we hope to one day be able to bring it back. Students at Dean do get access in their freshman and sophomore courses, to some of the topics that financial literacy covers. But this year we only have it at the North Campus, and there's about 27 students enrolled. They get about 5 credits. It's a year-long course, and it's an elective for students at the North Campus. And they cover topics like, earning and debiting and saving and budgeting and purchasing, all different variations of loans, insurances, mortgages, taxes, investments, and retirement. And they also have a work-based learning component where, as part of the course, they end up opening their checking and savings accounts. We also have some finance professionals and guest speakers that comes in. So it's a good class. Right now, 27 students are taking it all year. And we're proud of the fact that we've been doing this. I read an article that Springfield started doing this last year. officially the school committee had taken a vote, but we've been doing this for a while now. Unfortunately, we weren't able to offer it at the Dean campus, but we hope to bring that back when the staffing market changes.
Thank you, Mr. Soto. Does anybody have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I guess we'll consider the order complied with. Oh, sorry, Mr. Willihan, by all means.
To show you how to write a check, something as simple as that. I remember in grade school, just how to write a check and balance a checkbook.
Yeah, that happens as part of, that happens as part of their work-based learning experience. They get to open a checking account, and I'm sure they cover that part of the process.
All right, thank you. I just want to acknowledge that Counselor Murphy Rumboletti has joined us, so we have full attendance. Thank you very much. All right, so moving on to item number 2. I think this is more of an FYI. Ordered by Counselor McGivern and Anderson Burgos and Counselor Vacan that the DPW paint a crosswalk at the corner of Jarvis Ave, West Cherry, crossing over Jarvis Avenue. Has this been done?
Honestly, I'm not sure why this is even on the agenda. Well, yes, it is because it's in front of the school. So
right.
DPW would have to paint the crosswalk, but it'd have to go through the school, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, no, I don't think that needs to go through the school. And the parent has actually reached out to me and asked me to follow up with your side of things to see if that was getting done.
Well, I believe that, so the order was filed by Counselor McGivern, and I might have not made that meeting, but I'm assuming that this would have been done.
Yeah,
I don't believe it is.
that would need to go to a different subcommittee, right?
No, that would have been taken up at
Madam Chair,
Yes,
if I may.
Mr. Counselor
Uh,
Rivera. So if
thank
you
you.
hold on one second, please. So technically, we have to vote to suspend the rules to allow Counselor Rivera to speak because he's not on this subcommittee. So I would entertain a motion.
Second.
I need the motion first.
Oh, sorry.
Motion.
Oh, Counselor Anderson Burgos with the motion. Counselor Rivera, Jenny Rivera with the second. We do need to do roll call because we have voting members online. So Counselor Anderson Burgos,
Yes.
Counselor Jenny Rivera,
Yes.
School Committee Member Willihan,
Yes.
School Committee Member Yadialet Rivera Colon,
Yes.
and Counselor Murphy, Tessa Murphy. I am tongue-tied today, and I am a yes as well. So unanimous. Okay, sorry. Counselor Israel Rivera, by all means.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I would be willing to take that up at Public Safety as I chair the Public Safety Committee in December in the next meeting that we have, if you guys want to pass it over. I don't know why that actually is there. That's something that we could actually chat about at Public Safety and get more insight from the DPW. So if you guys want to be able to table it and then send it back to Jeff and Jeff put it in my jacket, I'm willing to take it up. But that's on you guys. You guys have to vote that. Thank you again.
Okay, thank you. I don't know that we need to table it because I don't know that it should be in this committee. So I guess we'll just refer it back to the full committee for you guys to do what you want with. Okay, so I'll have a motion to refer this agenda item back to the full city council. No, I need a second. Thank you, Mr. Willihan. All right, so roll call. Counselor Anderson Burgos.
Yes.
Counselor Jenny Rivera.
Yes.
School Committee Member Willihan.
Yes.
School Committee Member Dr. Jadialet Rivera Colon.
Yes.
And Counselor Murphy Rumboletti.
Yes.
And I myself am a yes. All right, moving along to agenda item number 3. Ordered by Counselors Rivera, Jenny, Anderson Burgos, Givner, Maldonado Velez, Murphy Romboletti, Rivera Israel, Jourdain, that the City Council work with the mayor and the school superintendent to address the reinstatement of bus services for Lyman Terrace as soon as possible as a matter of public safety. This has been a service that they have received for the past 20 years. Now, I know we were supposed to meet on this agenda in September, so I know that this item has been dealt with in some way, so I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Soto to respond first, and then we can open it up for questions. Mr. Soto?
Madam Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
do you want to just take items 2 and 3, no, sorry, 3 and 4 as a package since there's a letter related to this from the mayor?
Sure. We can do that.
Yeah,
Do we have to vote
it's
on
like-
that?
I don't
Right? You guys
think
would vote on that,
so.
right? Okay. I don't think we would, but I know
All
you
those in
guys
favor?
would. So,
you
yeah.
don't have to vote.
Everything has to be roll called because we have members that are virtual. So, that being said. So we're gonna vote on combining items number 3 and 4 and taking them up as a package, being that they have to do with the same topic. So, Counselor Anderson Burgos,
Yes.
Counselor Jenny Rivera,
Yes.
Mr. Willihan,
Yes.
Ms. Rivera Colon,
Yes.
and Ms. Murphy Rumboletti.
Yes.
And myself is a yes. Okay, thank you. All right, so we can take both of those up. Item number 4 is a letter from the mayor regarding the school busing services. I don't believe Mayor Garcia is with us this evening. So you guys who are online can access the letter by clicking the blue item on the agenda. I can't because my internet's not working. Do you have it up on your computer? Can I read it, or do you want to read it?
Want me to read the whole memo? I can.
Sure. Thanks.
All right. It is dated September 5th, 2023, from the mayor to the city council, and it reads as follows. Honorable City Council, I understand there's a discussion coming up regarding busing services at Lyman Terrace. I want to bring forward some clarifying points to go with the previous communication I submitted, along with 2 options I may introduce you in the very near future contingent upon the direction the city council wants to go. First, no money from transportation was reallocated. From the school budget hearing and from what I have reported in my past budget narrative to the city council, transportation costs have increased significantly by about $728,000 for FY24. The school department budget included funding for 22 large buses and 27 minibuses, which is the same number of buses we have had on the road for previous fiscal years. However, as part of the rezoning process, boundaries were redrawn, students were reassigned, applying the existing transportation policy to the new boundaries, which includes a review of hazard zones across the city. Some schools got hazard zones added, others were removed based on the infrastructure in place at the time of review. Some schools got more buses and others got fewer buses depending on the number of students eligible for transportation living outside the mileage thresholds in accordance with the existing policy. For example, all elementary students that used to walk to Sullivan now get bused to McMahon because Sullivan is now only educating grades 6 through 8. Funds were not reallocated, but used to be able to provide transportation for all students eligible in these new boundaries. If it were the desire of the council to provide transportation above and beyond the policy based on practice or other factors, then the request for funds for transportation would have been much higher. Considering the pressure to keep school costs low, including transportation, the department is doing what they can to balance the need and trying to control costs, which were going up significantly due to rebidding of the rates of the transportation contract. With that said, And considering the circumstances today as we work together to try to meet the needs of the community, I am forwarding 2 funding strategies for your ongoing discussion and consideration. These strategies include making sure we are consistent with offering the same level of service for other parts of the city with similar challenges. For example, Lawrence School, which is serving our most disenfranchised population, has 87% of their students not eligible for transportation compared to Kelly School's 70%. Lawrence School only has 1 bus for students that are eligible. If we were to continue offering bus services for Lyman, I need to make sure we are being fair and consistent for other neighborhoods. Not being consistent with the policy can open up further liability. If we were to add 1 bus for the entire school year, it would cost $73,000. The Lyman Terrace neighborhood has 35 students living in that neighborhood, which is 0.7 miles away from Kelly. In addition, there are 60 other students that live even further away from Kelly that are between 0.71 and 0.99 miles from the school. If we wanted to bus all students in that area between 0.7 and 0.99 miles that go to Kelly School, this would require an additional 2 big buses, which would be $146,000 for the year just for Lyman Terrace. Many families expressed the winter months being a challenge, so I had Superintendent Soto run the numbers for 2 additional buses for only the months of December through March, and this amount would be about $57,500 for just for Lyman Terrace. As described, however, I am not interested in supporting a practice outside of the policy just for one neighborhood, and if we were to make a change, that we would make it fair across the city. Therefore, we ran similar student data for other neighborhoods to see who was between 0.7 and 0.99 miles away from their school, and noted that we would have had to add 1 bus at Ian White, 1 bus at Lawrence, 1 at STEM, and 1 at McMahon. This would be a total of 6 additional buses. Then there's bullet points, and option 1 for the year would be about $437,000. Option 2, just for the winter months, would be a cost of $172,000. These are tough decisions, and I'm looking forward to your input on the matter as I value your guidance. Thank you for your time and attention on this. Mayor Josh Garcia.
Thank you, Mr. Soto. Is there anything you want to add that's been done since then, or anything that's changed or not changed?
No, the only thing that I will add is that we have been running a walking school bus. There are some families that have been taking advantage of that. Just to make sure. I did the walk myself, and it's probably about a 10 to 11 minute walk. I actually did the walk with Miss Rivera as well. The fire department also, helped us in making sure that it was a much safer walk, because the crosswalk that was on Main Street, you actually had to cross the street to push the button for the crosswalk sign to come up. So they've actually addressed that and put the button on the right side of the street. I can tell you from experience, from what I saw, I also walked it with the DPW superintendent, and we were able to take a look where the crosswalk lines were kind of worn out, and they repainted all of those lines, which made it much easier to see. And so I think there were some improvements made to make sure that it was a safe walk route. We have anywhere from 3 to 6 staff members at Kelly that are willing to do the walking school bus. So depending on the amount of students that are taking advantage of the walking school bus, which hasn't been many, I think anywhere from 2 to 5 is what we had been experiencing. If we have 5 students, one adult would be fine to make sure they're getting to school. If we had more, if we had a larger amount of students, then we would add additional staff accordingly. And so I think that those were some important steps that were made to make sure that students were able to walk safely to school. I know there was some, some press attention and talking about, there are some factors in our transportation policy that, I heard people talk about homelessness, people talk about violence, and people talk like those things are not in our transportation policy, right? We have a mileage threshold, we have hazard zones. We don't have things like the amount of violence in a particular neighborhood would qualify for a bus. And this has been a policy that, I have to say, like, it wasn't something that we implemented in the last 9 years. This has been a policy that has been in place for a very long time. And I know that, it could be difficult for anyone to understand why there was a change, right? There was a change because we went through rezoning and we evaluated all of our hazard zones. And we took a look at the infrastructure in place as part of that process, which is a commitment that we made. I heard from many city councilors. Well, let me take that back. I heard from some city councilors when we talked about rezoning. Well, is this going to increase transportation costs? So we took that feedback and we said, okay, we're going to evaluate to try to minimize the impact on. And all we did was implement the existing policy. We let families know last year in January whether or not they're every family, like we ended up paying a significant amount of money to make sure that every single family in Holyoke that had a student enrolled got a letter that said what school your child is going to be assigned to next year as part of rezoning, and whether or not they were eligible for transportation. So we tried really hard to make sure we got out in front and gave families enough time to let them know the impacts of rezoning. So in the example that was cited in the letter by the mayor, all of the Sullivan Elementary families that were going to McMahon or got a letter and it said your new school is going to be Sullivan next year and your child is eligible for transportation in accordance with the existing policy that is in place. And to the points that I made earlier about, people talked about, I heard some comments about the safety of the neighborhood and this and that, like, and I could tell you from experience firsthand that like no school, I've walked that Kelly route, and 87% of our students walk to Lawrence. And when you talk about, homelessness and the things that some of our students have to see when they walk to school, there's no school in Holyoke that has to see what some of our Lawrence students have to see on their way to school. I don't want to get into too many details, but everybody here is from Holyoke, and I just want to make it a point that like that neighborhood is the neighborhood where you see, some of the things that were brought up. The walk from Lyman to Kelly, you don't see some of those things. And I don't want to, I'm not being dismissive, please. So like, I don't want to come off as being dismissive or saying that that's not true or anything like that. I'm just being really candid and really honest that some of the things that were brought up about, the walk from Lyman to Kelly are probably true for Lawrence, more so than they are for that walk. But it is something that I totally can empathize with. I will, I take the lead from our leaders in this community, from our city council, from our school committee members. My job is to implement the policy that's in place, and that's what we've been trying to do. And so.
Thank you very much. I see Councilor Murphy Rumboletti's hand up.
Thank you. We talked about first of all, actually, I want to thank you for going, like, doing the walking tour. There were several city councilors that are on this call now that went with you guys to do the walk. So I know we do appreciate that. But I'm curious what you anticipate for the winter, just for my own knowledge. What happens with the walking school bus when the winter happens? And then a follow-up question, are you able to kind of see if there's a difference in attendance rates for like the students who live in Lyman Terrace? I mean, I think for all of us, safety is a big concern, but it's also like trying to eliminate barriers to attendance. So I don't know if that's something you guys look at, but thank you.
Yeah, we do monitor attendance. I didn't come prepared to tell you like who the attendance specifically for that neighborhood, but I can certainly give you an overall. I'm just trying to pull it up.
I
I'm
mean, I
sorry.
get like it's more just for my knowledge. I don't know if it does make a difference in attendance rates, but
It-
obviously I know you guys keep track of attendance, but and then yeah, winter, I don't know what your thoughts are.
Yeah, so I can say that Kelly's attendance rate is about today, year to date, almost 91%, which is, we strive to be at 92%, but there's not a huge attendance, like in terms of where we were last year, where we are now. Things are pretty like status quo in terms of the attendance rate. In fact, we're slightly above where we were last year. We will continue to do the walking school bus through the winter months, and there is no research out there that I can see. In fact, there's research to the contrary, and I don't want to like I'm not talking about national research, but when I worked in Springfield, this issue came up, and we did a comparison in Springfield to the attendance for walkers and attendance for people that ride a bus, and there was no correlation to it. In fact, like, I can tell you from experience, I lived on Pine Street in the Grenier's house, the yellow house that used to be the Grenier studio. And when I went to Dean, if I missed the bus, which was on the corner of Sargent and Pine, I wasn't going to school because I wasn't going to, but if I was a walker and I lived and I was consistently walking to school, my mom wouldn't have let me use that as an excuse because I can't go back and say, Mom, I missed the bus. I would actually show up to school a little late if I was running late. For me, in my personal experience, being a rider would actually negatively impact my attendance because if I miss the bus, I'm not walking from Pine Street, or the senior center, all the way down to Dean, and my mom wouldn't have made me walk. Whereas if I was a walker, like walking to Lawrence or anywhere within a mile, which I did consistently, I walked to Peck from there. I couldn't use that. My mom would have definitely told me like, get your butt to school.
Thank
Are you all set, counselor?
Yep.
Thank you. So we already suspended the rules once to let Counselor Israel Rivera speak. I don't think we need to bother doing that again. So unless any other members from the committee want to speak first. Oh, Miss Jenny Rivera.
So thank you. I think the problem is that they had the bus for 20 years and it was taken away. And yes, the letter did go out in January. And I do have to say, I feel bad because I was called to a meeting. I want to say it was February or March. And that letter was brought up in that meeting. I don't know because I'm not on the school committee. I don't do anything with transportation. I did ask about it, and I was told that bus is not going to be taken away. The school zoning, it's not going to change the bus. So what I was told is what I went back and told them. So I think that's another factor that they're upset about, because I gave them misinformation that I was told. So just the bus being taken away, I still feel that, yes, living in the flats myself, I feel that's not a walk for like preschoolers or even kindergarten, because some of the drivers do not respect and they just drive by, especially in the corner. I live on Mosier Street, but on the corner of Mosier and Bauer, when people come underneath the underpath, they just swing. They do not even stop. They just swing, boom, and go onto Mosier Street. They come down Bauer speeding. I just feel like in the winter months, if it's icy out and school hasn't been canceled, they have to walk, even though they're walking with staff from Kelly School. I still think for little ones, now that it's Kelly School became just strictly elementary, not, no 6th to 8th grade anymore. But again, that's my opinion. And like I did say, I did question that. I was told they were not going to get the bus away, taken away, but it was. But I think were they notified? They were notified. But I think they got the letter. But then I told them something different. So I did learn my lesson on that.
Get it in writing.
Yeah, get and just direct the questions to you guys, and you guys could deal with it. But that's why, and I'm still getting asked, what are they going to do with the bus situation for the winter months?
Yeah. So just for clarity's sake, no preschool gets busing.
Yeah.
In the whole city, just so you know, because preschool is not required. It's a privilege, as we like to say. So everyone has to provide transportation for preschoolers citywide.
Yeah,
Mr. Soto?
I mean, I was literally going to just say that, so thank you. So just for clarity, nobody in pre-K gets transportation unless it's part of their IEP. So it would the policy would be kindergarten and up. And then the other thing that I'll say to that is I too agree that kindergarten students shouldn't walk by themselves, right? Like I'm not telling families like your kid has to walk alone. The only thing we're saying is that they're not eligible for transportation. So I don't think that any family member is going to allow their kindergartner to just walk alone. But to mitigate that, and Hayes families are struggling with that. That's the whole reason why we added a walking school bus for that neighborhood, so that if for whatever reason a family member couldn't walk their child or drive their child or whatever the case may be, there's a staff member that they're familiar with, that they know, that they're comfortable with, that they're to walk them.
Thank you. All right, Counselor Israel Rivera.
Thank you. Some of the points I wanted to bring up kind of got addressed around attendance, around the fact that this is not middle school. They're younger, K-5. And I wouldn't just look at just Lyman. I would look at anyone within that radius that used to possibly get the bus, or could possibly take advantage of the bus, and then look at their attendance. Because it's one thing to like never have the bus, right? Like you said, if you never had the bus, then you're going to find a way to get there because that's the way you're programmed. But if you had the bus and you had it for a long time, and then all of a sudden they take it from you, it impacts you in a way where, I don't know, I can't explain it because I always had a bus when I was a kid. And when I missed the bus, my mom made me walk to school from the flats. Like I couldn't get home. She wasn't playing that. I won't tell you that much.
I see.
At the end of the day, I think for me it's there's a policy in the school with attendance. So if there is no bus for them and there is attendance issues, where is the leeway or the lax for the parents that may be struggling with attendance issues due to possibly now the lack of transportation that they don't have? Because as much as we would love for all of them to walk their kids to school, I do see little kids walking by themselves, and it's unfortunate. It sucks sometimes to see. I'm sure they're not in kindergarten. They're probably like very, very small fourth graders or fifth graders. but at the end of the day, it's still it's weird because I went to McMahon School in the Flats and I took the bus. The bus is a luxury, yes, and it is a privilege, but it's an experience for kids that is irreplaceable. I don't know. It would have been weird for me to not have that experience, but I mean, this is where we're at now. I feel like I actually kind of forgot about it because it kind of fell off the radar. But just the other day, a parent that I work with the programming, he brought it up to me again, and he was like, "Hey, are they ever gonna give the bus back? Because I drop my niece off every day, and it's kind of annoying." Like he's like, I like to help her, and I want her to like go through that process, but like, I mean, I'm gonna do it regardless. But like, they really, I don't. Why did they take the bus away? And like, there is no communication for him as a parent too. He's an uncle, but now, in a sense, he's more involved in the family because he's picking up his niece now and dropping her off on a daily basis. And it's good, kudos for them that they figured it out. But at the end of the day, like, attendance is impacted. And then there's a difference, I think, just to point out real quick, between equity and being equitable, right? And equality. I mean, there's a difference, right? When we're talking about everyone has to be equal and getting everyone to be on the same level, because some people are ahead sometimes, right? And that equalness is not necessarily equal. And I just want to just put it out there and make sure that we remember that in the process, because as much as we want to be fair to everyone throughout the whole community, the reality is that not everyone is living in the same fair circumstances throughout the whole community. So some of them might need a little more help than others. It's unfortunate, but the reality is that's what it is. And thank you for just being able to express that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Rivera. I'd just like to point out that transportation is the one thing that is funded from the city council. So if you guys want to take this up somewhere else in your council and provide the funding, we would be more than honored, I'm sure, to figure out a way to put that money to good transportation use. Okay, I see our vice chair, Mildred Lefebvre's hand up. So I would need a motion to suspend the rules to allow Ms. Lefebvre to speak, please. Thank you. Moved by Councilor Anderson Burgos, seconded by Mr. Willihan. Roll call. Mr. Anderson Burgos?
Yes.
Councilor Jenny Rivera?
Yes.
School Committee Member Willihan?
Yes.
School Committee Member Dr. Rivera Colon?
Yes.
Councilor Murphy Romboletti?
Yes.
And myself is a yes as well. Welcome to the meeting, Ms. Lefebvre. You have the floor.
Thank you and good evening, everyone. Okay, so let me give some clarification on this whole situation. Councilor Rivera had mentioned, so I was the one who spoke with Councilor Rivera when she approached me on that situation. So I'm going to give you a little background history on how this all came to happen. For many years, Lyman Terrace has received the busing. I know because my children were part of that as well. And now we're going to go on to when Dr. Carballo was the superintendent here for the Holyoke Public Schools, at which time he was going to stop the busing. But when he was going to do that, the LPAC got involved because of the conditions from Lyman Terrace to Kelly School. So with that being said, they took pictures. They were going to go to court. So before everything even happened, or for it to be finalized, Holyoke was under a federal court consent decree. And so that stopped immediately. Dr. Carballo agreed to continue it the way that it was, that Lyman Terrace was going to continue. So that has always been maintained in my head, that we were under a federal court consent decree. And that's why Lyman never lost their busing. What happened is now we go into a rezoning. And all of the work that needed to be done to make the area what they would consider safe. So the bridge was done, the lighting, the crossing, the lights, the railroad, even though they still work on it. Technically, that was all worked on and made now considered safe. So now you have the police department that considers the walking route safe. We are not under a federal court consent decree. We have now rezoned. So now the school department is going by the school policy. But that's where the confusion is. I was still under the belief that we were under a federal court consent decree, which apparently we are not. And so that just dubbed everything, you know, and unfortunately, this is where we are at this point. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. LaFave. Any further discussion on the order? So to be clear, we're not amending anything, school policy, we're not providing anything at this time. So let me see exactly how this is phrased. So I guess city councilor work with the mayor and the school superintendent to address the reinstatement of the bus services. So we're not doing that. So how do we want to phrase this?
I would just consider motion complied with.
Okay. Oh, sorry, Mr. Soto. Did you want to say something? Great. Okay, so we'll consider the motion, the order complied with? Yes?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, I don't think we need roll call. Go ahead.
I would like to reconsider our actions on item number 2.
Okay.
So instead of
Would you care to explain?
instead of sending it back to council, what we should do is send it.
We can't do that. We have no say over DPW here on the school committee. So that can
to
be
rec-
our suggestion.
Right, but to just say recommend.
Make a motion.
I motion that that we reconsider our actions on item number 2. Can I get a second? And instead of sending it back to city council, just we recommend that it be sent for approval.
Excuse me, my mic was not on. Roll call will be to reconsider it, and then we'll take another vote on what we're doing with it, right? It shouldn't be one motion.
Right.
Okay. All right, so the current motion up for consideration is to take back item number 2 so that we can reconsider our assessment of the item. So on that motion, Councilor Anderson Burgos?
Yes.
Councilor Jenny Rivera?
Yes.
Mr. John Willihan?
Yes.
Dr. Yeti Rivera Clone, sorry, I'm tongue-tied today.
Yes.
Councilor Murphy Rumboletti,
Yes.
and myself is a yes. So the item is back up for discussion. So now if you want to make a motion on what to do with the item.
Motion to send to that we recommend we send it back to DPW.
So the motion is to recommend that with the referral back to City Council that they recommend it for approval to DPW.
Correct.
Okay.
Second.
Seconded by School Committee Member Willihan. So roll call on the motion. Councilor Anderson Burgos.
Yes.
Councilor Jenny Rivera.
Yes.
School Committee Member Willihan.
Yes.
School Committee Member Dr. Rivera Colon.
Yes.
Councilor Murphy Rumboletti.
Yes.
And I myself am a yes as well. Thank you, Councilor Burgos. Moving on to number 5. Ordered by School Committee Member Aaron Brunell that the Joint Committee review our Zoom policy. So I brought this up at School Committee because the City Council sets our technology policies basically, and Zoom has recently revamped, if you will, their what you're accepting by agreeing to join a Zoom meeting. So it was my belief that we should make the public more aware of what they're consenting to by joining a Zoom webinar. Particularly, as we all know, for city government purposes, the meetings are being recorded. but I believe Zoom also holds that right to record. And then I read something crazy about AI. So I just thought that this should probably be taken up by City Council. I'm not sure what subcommittee exactly, but that they review the legalities around Zoom being the public communication platform we use for webinar meetings. So that was my thoughts. That's why it's here. I don't know if anybody else has any thoughts or considerations or discussions. If not, I would entertain a motion that we refer this to, I don't know, you report it out and then see where the council wants it to go, or do you have a particular subcommittee at council who reviews policy? You don't have a policy subcommittee, right? You have an ordinance or something? Would it be charter and
You
rules?
could refer it to the law department, maybe.
Yeah, I don't really know. I
think at this point it should be referred to the law department.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Councilor-
So we'll let
Murphy Rumble has nothing to say.
Councilor Murphy Rumboletti on the motion,
Second.
and seconded by Councilor Anderson Burgos. Sound good, folks? Any discussion on the motion? No? Oh, sorry, Mr. Willihan.
Thank you. I think maybe the city council administrative assistant should maybe get his opinion on this policy, the do's and don'ts. I think he's probably familiar with it because he's the techno person
Yeah,
on there.
have
So
him
I
wait.
would value his opinion on this. Thank you.
So are you asking to rephrase the motion?
I don't know if I have to do that. I think maybe he should just be
They should probably just all talk about it together.
Yeah.
We'll
Part-
follow, we'll follow y'all's lead.
part of the discussion. That I would
Okay.
encourage that. Thank you.
Okay. Who seconded? Did you want to speak on the discussion, Councilor Burgos?
No.
All right, great. Any other discussion?
I do.
Oh, by all means. School committee member Dr. Rivera Colon.
Thank you. Since we last talked about the issues with Zoom and their AI, they have updated their terms of service, stating that they do not use any audio, video, chat, screen sharing attachments, or other communications like customer content, like if you use poll results, the whiteboard reaction, or any of that data to train their AI. So I know that that wasn't in the original, and when we talked about it, it wasn't there yet. So just a little bit of maybe stay tuned in general, but at least they did state that they're not using the data from the meetings. Just an FYI.
Great, thank you. That is good information to have. I just, like I said, with legal's opinion, should we be disclosing to the public, right, what they're agreeing to? Like, should it be posted somewhere? So thank you for that information. All right, so on the motion, we'll do a roll call, saying no further discussion. All right, great. Councilor Anderson Burgos.
Yep.
Councilor Rivera Colon. I'm sorry. Councilor Jenny Rivera.
Yes.
I'm so sorry, you guys. School committee member Willihan.
Yes.
School committee member Dr. Rivera Colon.
Yes.
Councilor Murphy Rumboletti.
Yes.
And I myself is a yes as well. Wonderful. Thank you so much. All right, moving right along. Item number 6, this was actually filed by myself, seconded by Ronnie Collmore to refer over to this committee as well, just to discuss a little around our homeless and drug use around our schools. This kind of really ties back into our conversations around busing as well. So I took it upon myself. I was discussing this with the receiver and the mayor. So I was able to have a meeting with the mayor, and he brought in 2 wonderful captains from the Holyoke Police Department. And some of the things that came out of that meeting, it was we connected those officers with the principals at the schools that do walking school buses. We were encouraging auxiliary police officers to volunteer, because they are volunteers, to be assigned to the walking school bus routes, being that if they're able to see what our students, staff, and family are seeing, maybe they'd be more apt to help find solutions, right? Because, you know, a lot of people travel the main streets, but they might not travel the side streets or the alleys or whichever ways the students walk. So that was a good connecting point. And then one of the things that's happened so far, and I will reach out to confirm it's still happening, is they're supposed to be doing morning sweeps around particularly Kelly School, Lawrence School, and Morgan School at the end of the night shift, which is, I believe, 7 a.m., and the start of the morning shift, to make sure that they're both going by the schools to ensure that no one is sleeping on school grounds or near school grounds or on the walking paths or things of that nature. They've also removed the PVTA bus shelter on Cabot Street between Maple and High. And then they've also removed the shelter, not the bus stop. There's still a bench there, but the overhead shelter piece from the Maple Street bus stop as well, which just helps with people hanging out there. So I brought this up mainly because as a school committee member, city safety isn't always top of mind, but it really does affect our students and families. So, how can we as a city, how can we as a joint committee, how can we as elected officials or as adults help to better serve our community by making sure that at least we're starting with our school zones and expanding from there on how to provide a better community as a whole for our students. Mr. Collymore, did you want to add anything? Okay. All right. Mr. Soto.
Yeah, the only thing I'll add is that we're also in the process of procuring a security guard. And the procurement process is a little slow, but we're in the process. Like, we're literally got a vendor selected and a contract that is in, circulating for signatures for Lawrence School. And the security guard, because that's where, my humble opinion, that's where, we have had instances where people are sleeping, on the sidewalk of the school where there's hangouts. They're not going to be doing any type of security like throughout the school or anything like that, unless asked, like a door was left open or an intruder or anything like that. But they are going to be doing sweeps. They'll have a spot in the main entrance because when they're not sweeping around the building to just make sure people that shouldn't be hanging out aren't hanging out, they need a place to post up. So they're going to be in the main entrance in the hallway. So that is just another added measure that we want to make sure we implement. The library had done something similar, and we've seen
Library Park.
Yeah, the Holyoke Public Library had hired a security company this past year, and there's been a noticeable difference in that park of people just not hanging out, not sleeping, stuff like that, which is very, very welcomed from our Lawrence families and our staff over there at Lawrence.
I also had mentioned something to the mayor, and he happened to introduce me to somebody with the PVTA, and so our maintenance staff got us quotes on privatizing the fencing around the playground at Lawrence School, whether it be that we're going to hang mesh, which is like what you see at the old playground at Metcalf, or if we could like weave the vinyl strips through. So we have quotes for both. I sent to the gentleman at the PVTA. I'll follow up with him because I hadn't heard back, but they had some grant funding left over they were looking to use. So that would certainly help insulate the playground over there. Whether or not we can do just the Maple Street side or all three sides, we have quotes for both. So, but other than that, this is a conversation I feel like can't be just a conversation, right? Like, I'd like to see some tangible actions moving forward on how we continue these conversations, whether it be we establish a committee with some community police officers to discuss the issue, or, what are our nonprofits doing? I feel like the city council is a little bit more in tune with what the city as a whole is trying to do to curb our drug use and homeless problems. So I would like to hear from some of the counselors as to what the city might be doing and how we as a subcommittee can work together to move this agenda item forward. Anyone on the yeah, Jenny Rivera, please.
So let's go back to this order right here, which is perfect for a conversation I had today. I actually, on the weekend, I was reached out to from a concerned citizen when she walks her child to the school, and it's at the bus stop of so it's not just a school, it's it's at the bus stop, the corner of Dwight and Pine. So she says they see a lot of drug use. 2 weeks ago, I guess there was one doing the drug use, fell to the ground after he did it, and the kids were all looking at them. And then not only that, they're asking for the parents for money, and they're there early in the morning when the kids are waiting for the bus. When the parents go pick up the kids in the afternoon, they're still there doing their things, asking for money. So I did reach out to Dean Santiago, Transportation. So he said it was, something that's happening throughout of Holyoke, that his hands are really tied on it. And then I had another parent with the same situation, but that child goes to charter school, spoke to Dr. Pope, and she's going to reach out to all her parents that are on that bus route to see if she can move the bus route for them and take them out of there, but she's not sure where exactly. But I did speak to Chief Pratt, and his words to me today was like, I'm on it. I'm going to take care of that immediately. So to what I understand before, I don't see it happening anymore, but they were supposed to be driving around, and if they're seeing a homeless with the carts from Stop and Shop and all their stuff on it, they're supposed to take it away. But I'm getting them parked in front of Enlace, so I'm dealing with it like on a daily basis too. So our hands are tied with that.
Yeah, Captain Cruz was the gentleman from the police department that we had met with, and I have his email, so I'll CC you on the email with him, and like maybe we could get together with him like quarterly to bring up like, okay, well, what localities are hot spots, so that way we can ensure that they're focusing on those, and like we're trying to do our ward meetings again and like bringing police officers into those kinds of meetings so that way they can hear, because if we don't get the information back, right, then it can't be dealt with. So I'm sure, like you said, as soon as you told Chief Pratt, he said, I'm on it, right? So like we have to know about these hot spots. Moving a bus stop is certainly not the solution because it's just going to follow, right? It's just putting a Band-Aid on the problem. So, all right, folks. So if we could have another motion to suspend the rules to allow Ronnie Collmore to speak.
So moved.
So moved by Counselor Anderson Burgos, and then I need a second.
Second.
Second by Counselor Jenny Rivera. On the motion, Counselor Anderson Burgos.
Yes.
Counselor Rivera.
Yes.
School Committee Member Willihan.
Yes.
School Committee Member Dr. Rivera Colon.
Yes.
Counselor Murphy Rumboletti.
Yes.
And I myself are a yes. Mr. Collmore, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. A question to the superintendent. You talked about a security guard at Lawrence School, and you were looking into it through the legal process. Is that specifically for the Lawrence School, or can we make it in general a security guard to visit other schools and look at situations and see if we need any more security guards, or are we happy with what we got at Lawrence School?
Yeah, we currently don't have it in place. We're in the procurement process, but our plans is to only have it for that neighborhood because that is the only place where there's just like, of course there's, bus stops and other areas, but that neighborhood, there's a high concentration of just activity in general. We don't have that level of activity in any one of our other schools. Not Kelly, not Morgan, not Holyoke High. None of our other schools have the level of just activity in general of the things that are on the agenda here than Lawrence. So no, we don't have any plans to add security guards anywhere else. And again, it's not security guards that are going to be like, policing the hallways of the school, unless like, hey, that door was propped open. They'll go check it out, make sure it's locked, stuff like that. But it's really to just walk the building, make sure, if they see something, they're getting, because they're not law enforcement, they're contacting law enforcement and making sure that things, there are some things that you can just move along, like, hey, you got to move along. But if there's any illegal activity or anything, they're going to be the ones that are making sure they're in constant communication with the Holyoke Police Department. And, we at our high schools, we already have school resource officers. So we have one at Holyoke High and one at the North Campus. And Sergeant Jonick, I want to, give him a shout out because, like, I've actually tried to see if we can get from the police department at our middle schools, just based on the amount of calls that they get, and we want families to feel a little safer too, right? Sergeant Jonick has been at Sullivan School daily, right? Like, he is the supervisor of the SROs, so like he's supposed to be supervising them anyways. But instead of spending his time at North and at Dean, where we already have an SRO, he's been really good about, just going around to the middle schools and supporting that. So, I was there today and I saw him today,
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Any further discussion? Counselor Israel Rivera, I saw your hand up, but I don't see it now. Feel free to raise it back up if you wanted to speak on it. All right, seeing none other, I know that Councilor Murphy Rumboletti's subcommittee had been encouraging the mayor to do something about community policing, and then, as we all know, with the tragedy that happened downtown, there's been an uptake, we'll say, increase in community policing and police activity. I would just like to say it takes the whole community, not just the police, to be vigilant and to do our best. So with that being said, I don't know that we need to officially do anything with this because in the school committee, we don't really technically file orders. But I would just basically like to see this. What I would like to see is for this to stay as a recurring agenda item, almost like ongoing business, so that we can constantly be refreshing this and talking about it to see how we're doing as a city to better this. And then, like I said, my suggestion would be to maybe have 2 members of this committee, one from each side, meet with Officer Cruz or whomever else from the police department about these issues moving forward. So that's what I would like to see if anybody wants to make a motion on that.
So moved.
Wonderful. Thank you, gentlemen. So on the motion to basically have this stay as a recurring agenda item, ongoing business, and then I guess in January, the new chairs or the current chairs, if they remain chairs, can discuss further and select somebody from each side of things to be the representatives to meet with police officers. Good? Sounds good. All right, great. So on the motion, Councilor Anderson Burgos.
Yes.
Councilor Jenny Rivera.
Yes.
School Committee Member Willihan.
Yes.
School Committee Member Dr. Rivera Colon.
Yes.
Councilor Murphy Rumboletti.
Yes.
And myself is a yes as well. Look at those names today. All right, great. Item number 7, it's attached to the agenda. It's the Thrive Act. This has long since come and gone now. The Thrive Act, you can read about it, but it's basically it's a law, a bill, a resolution in front of the state legislature that would remove the graduation requirements from MCAS, and it would basically dissolve receivership as well if it gets voted on and adopted. If I recall correctly, it was October 4th or 6th where there was a hearing where any member from the public could register to speak on the topic, and now it's just being waited to be, called upon when it's its turn to be heard on the floor. This body, meaning the school committee members, the school committee of Holyoke, all voted in support of the Thrive Act and sent a letter with our support to the state legislature. So if anyone else has anything else they want to discuss about that, but we just thought it would be beneficial to make the council aware. And if you guys wanted to sign off on it as well, and on behalf of the city council, encourage our state representative, which Pat Duffy is signed on. I believe Senator Vilas is now as well, and I know that Senator Gomez from Springfield is as well. So hopefully we could see this come to fruition. I saw Mr. Willihan's hand. No, you're all set? All right, great. I don't see anybody online. Again, there's really no action needed to be taken. It was just more of, FYI. We thought we should share, so it's complied with. All right, item number 8 is just to vote on the meeting minutes from, is that from June or from April? From April 6, 2023. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
Motion.
Oh, the motion by Dr. Rivera Colon, seconded by Councilor Anderson Burgos. Any discussion? Seeing none. All right. Roll call. Councilor Anderson Burgos.
Yes.
Councilor Jenny Rivera.
Yes.
School Committee Member Willihan.
Yes.
School Committee Member Dr. Rivera Colon.
Yes.
Councilor Murphy Rumboletti.
Yes.
And myself is a yes as well. That's unanimous. Seeing no further items on the agenda, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Moved by Councilor Willihan, School Committee Member Willihan, seconded by Councilor Rivera. There is no discussion on this, so therefore we will vote on it. Councilor Anderson Burgos.
Yes.
Councilor Jenny Rivera.
Yes.
School Committee Member Willihan.
Yes.
School Committee Member Dr. Rivera Colon.
Yes.
Councilor Murphy Rumboletti.
Yes.
And myself is a yes as well. Thank you all very much. We will see you in the new year. Have a great holiday.